Hey everyone, it is the TheAngryHoneyBadger, and it's time for us to take a look at Lux. Playing her in the middle of the day, going to talk about her abilities first, and then we'll get into the build and all of that. Well, I guess we'll cover the first part of the build. Level 1, there's 2 options here I'd give you, or 3. You can do actually whatever you want at level 1, whatever you're comfortable with is usually what I would recommend. I did boots and pots this game. If you want to go ahead and do the Doran's Ring and a couple of pots, I would recommend that now since they did just fix that. So you can take a couple of pots, and we'll just go from there. We're going to go ahead and talk about her abilities, and we're going to talk about that, and then we'll get into more of that. If you don't know about her abilities, first off is her passive, which is Illumination. Basically, whenever you hit them with a damaging spell, your standard attacks after that will then deal bonus magic damage. So it will hurt. So it's very good to standard attack your enemies after you hit them with an ability that will deal damage. So take note of that. At level 1 or at level 2, you can put a point into your Q ability, which is your binding. Whenever you hit them with that, it is going to immobilize them for a second in a sphere, and you're going to deal some damage to them, ability power damage, which will be magic damage in the long run if you do not know that AP is ability power. So that is what your Q does. The person who gets struck by the second one will take 50% less of the effect of the damage, so just take note of that, but it still is a very good item. We will be maxing this out second. Then there is your W ability, which we typically put a point in at level 3, and what that's going to do is whenever you throw it out, it's going to give you a barrier, and any of your teammates that get a hit by it will also get a barrier, and basically it's a little shield. It's very nice to have, and as it comes back through, it can also give them another barrier, so it's a very good shield, and we'll typically max this out last. If you're playing her as a support, which we'll get to later on in the video, it's very good, obviously, put more points in early because that is going to be very helpful to prevent you from taking too much damage while you're in bottom lane. And then at level 1 or 2, depending, like I said, whichever one you want to take first, there's your E ability, which is your Lucent Singularity. Throw out a orb, and in that zone, if they walk through it, they are slowed. You can detonate this yourself by pressing the E button again, or it'll automatically go off after 5 seconds, I believe. It's going to slow them, and it's going to deal some ability power as well. We're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of a chase here going on, trying to catch up to them. I am just uber slow for some reason right now, and that's going to happen. We're trying to run after this Twisted Fate. He is going to throw a stun card at the Trundle, and instead of getting away, I'm going to go ahead and ult him and pick up the kill so he does not get away from us. So we both pick up some gold from that exchange. And that is her ultimate. We'll go over that now, which is your final spark, which, as you can see, is a massive laser beam, which is pretty awesome. That also does ability power damage, and it's pretty awesome, basically. So, does a lot of damage. It's on a fairly short cooldown at level 3, and we're going to build some cooldown reduction in this build as well. Early on, one of my first trip back, what I took is a Chalice of Harmony. Very good item. It's going to give you that mana regeneration. Very important while you're in lane to have that. Also gives you some magic resist. And the very nice thing about that is most of the AP mids you are up against will be dealing that type of damage, so it's just going to help you stay protected just a little bit. If you are up against somebody mid who does deal physical damage, though, if you get Zed or Talon or Kha'Zix mid maybe, go ahead and pick up some armor, though. Try to build that probably towards the Zhonyas Hourglass because that's just something you'll need in lane, and it will definitely help you out. Here, Twisted Fate ulted in behind our bottom lane. I'm going to come try to protect. You need to try to follow Twisted Fate if he goes across the map. You can't just say, hey, he's going across the map. Try to follow him there. You can usually help out in some way, as we just did. I picked up an assist, and Kog'Maw got a kill. So you got to follow Twisted Fate around. I will say that for anybody who has any problems dealing with Twisted Fate, you need to follow wherever he goes. Because it's not really fair to just let him gank freely and then know there's no side effect. Nobody's going to follow him to a different lane. So try to follow him around. Not the easiest thing in the world, but you need to try to do it. So this last trip that I was back at base, what we built was a Blasting Wand. Good item. Going to help us with some damage, obviously. We will be building this into another item in a little bit, but we'll let that sit at a Blasting Wand for now. Always pick up a couple pots if you need them as well. Going to go ahead and, have a couple of those in lane if I need those to heal up. And we're going to go ahead and keep kind of poking at Twisted Fate to deal some damage, and we're going to end him off here in a second. Basically, the combination I try to use is hit him with my binding, which is my Q, which I will. Throw out that E to detonate that, and then use your ultimate while he is stuck in place, such as this, and blow him up like that. So that's kind of how you do it. Throw out that E ability to get him binded down, then throw out the E and the ultimate all at the same time and detonate that E as well, and it's going to be some pretty good damage, really fastly stacked, very bursty style, and it'll allow you to pick up good kills, but you usually have to wear them down just a little bit in lane. Luckily, Lux does deal some pretty good damage. Everything she has is basically a skill shot, and skill shot champions usually deal a bit more damage because it involves some quote-unquote skill. There I did get kited around fairly hard by that LeBlanc, just getting her stun off multiple times on me, and that's some good work. This is actually a support LeBlanc, which I've seen a few times recently, because with her ultimate active, she can reactivate her stun. Pretty strong stuff. She got it off twice, and they did some good work. Tried to juke, but no dice. I'm going to head up to top lane, try to protect this real quick, just, you know, take care of that so it doesn't get pushed any further by that Gnosis. And that's just something you got to help out with. If your team needs help with any of their lanes, try to assist them best you can. Lux actually can gank fairly well too. Since you are middle lane, I know a lot of people rely on their junglers for ganking. Mid lane technically has the best ability to do this as well, since you are in the middle of everything. You can go top or bottom fairly quick. So don't be afraid to gank as the mid laner, especially if you send the other person back to lane. They usually don't remember to call a Mia when they're back at base, and you can usually deal some pretty good damage if you go gank another lane. Typically from this side, I like to head towards bottom. Pretty easy way to gank. I'm going to get into a little fight with both of these people here. We have Trundle coming in. I get the ultimate from Soraka on our team. Going to use my ultimate and hit them both. Deal some damage. We have the passive going off on this LeBlanc. I know she's low, but she still does damage, so I got to be a little bit careful with that. So I'm going to try to find her, but do my best to not take any more damage. We do have Trundle also looking for her too as well. She is going to go up here, but she'll jump back towards me. Luckily, I will just have a little bit more health, so I'll be able to live through this exchange and pick up a kill on her fairly quick. But we're going to go ahead and head back to base and continue buying more items, since that's what we need to do at this point. I'm going to go ahead and finish off that Blasting Wand with that Catalyst that I had. Build that into a Rod of Ages fairly early. I do like this item a lot. It's just a really nice item on Lux. It's going to give you that health and that mana and that ability power, and it's going to scale over the next few minutes until it maxes out. And it's nice to have that scaling damage, health, and mana. It's just, you just don't run out of mana as much. You have some health, which helps you with obviously just ignoring some damage because you have a bit more. And that's just going to be everything involved with that. Going to use my ultimate real quick. We're going to hit that Ezreal as he is trying to escape. Going to try to support the team, use the shield when I can, use that orb to slow enemies and deal the damage with it that I can. I'm remembering to auto attack as well because it does deal significant damage. Trundle is going to pick up a triple kill, which is nice, and we'll be able to push this lane a little bit after we kill 4 of them. So that's just something that has happened, and we already have this bottom tower, but just basically remember to use everything in fights. Do not forget to use that barrier. It might seem kind of weird to say don't forget to use that, but it can definitely help out your whole team in fights, and it's just very, very helpful. So use that barrier when you can. Also, don't be afraid to use Lux's ultimate. It is on a fairly short cooldown, as I mentioned, and it's just a great thing to use continuously. So you'll see people use it on minions. It's kind of like Ezreal's ult, and you can late game just because it's up so often. You really can do that if you need to clear quickly, or if it's just a massive wave and you don't want to lose any of it to the tower. Here I'm going to open up with my ultimate. You didn't get to see it on screen because lol replay. I just used lock mode for the recording. Going to go ahead and hit this LeBlanc. She's going to jump that way and then jump back to it, but she is ignited, took some damage from me, so she actually will die. And yeah, that's going to happen there. There's the shield for the Trundle. As you'll see in this fight, when we go running after this Ezreal, he is basically going to get saved by the shield as he goes to tower dive. And we're going to see this in action right here. He goes in for the dive. I told him not to because this is my friend. But here comes the shield. Going to protect him just enough from the turret damage so he escapes with his life, so Ezreal does not pick up that kill. So just stuff like that. You just need to make sure you try to use your barrier to really protect the team. It's very good. And going off of that, it's one reason why you see her as a support. She can really use her snare and her slows and that barrier to really help out as a support champion. Obviously, the build would be a bit different, but she can be good as a support, and she can actually do some decent damage. So a support Lux isn't always a bad thing because she can contribute to team fights sometimes a little bit more than other supports can. I'm going to go ahead and get into a little bit of a fight against the Gnosis. We have Trundle up here doing good damage. I'm also helping out quite a lot too, and we'll take care of him fairly quick. Basically snared him, and he basically wasn't going to go anywhere after that point because there was no escape. And going to go ahead and secure the assist and the kill for Trundle. So at this point, we can go back to base, but we have built a little bit of our next part of our build. We have built, I believe, that Codex, which is going to go ahead and give us a little bit of AP and a little bit of cooldown reduction. and that's what we're going to be building. I did also finish my boots off, which are magic penetration boots. I know some people do like to build cooldown reduction boots. You can do that if you want, but you need to just remember, if you're going to get multiple cooldown reduction items, you can only have a maximum of 40% cooldown reduction. So if you have 3 cooldown reduction items and you would in theory have 50 or more percent cooldown reduction, you can't actually have that much in-game, and it's just something to remember. It's just kind of a waste of items to a certain degree if you have that many. So just remember that in case you did not know. Also, blue buff does give you a little cooldown reduction as well, so if you want to get some that way, you can also do that if your jungler is giving you blue buff. So just something to remember. A little bit of a fight and engagement here. We are kind of trying to chase them as they run away. We're going to get into a little bit of a battle here. Going to pick up a kill on Gnosis, and then I think LeBlanc is going to go ahead and run away from us. I don't think we're going to catch up to her, and pretty much call that, I think, for that fight. Maybe they'll come this way again. We'll try to pick up some other kills, but I don't remember. But we can head back to base at this point too, and we can go ahead and buy some more items since we have 2,400 more gold, and definitely help out with continuing the build. Actually, you know what? I'm going to help Jace out. He's going to get angry for me helping stop somebody from running away, and then he's not going to help me while I get killed. So angry Jace is angry, whatever, he can get over it. But we're going to be back at base now since we are finished off and we are dead. And we're going to take that Chalice of Harmony and that Codex and build that into an Athene's Unholy Grail. Definitely going to help us with any mana issues we would have this game. Ability power as well, and a little bit of magic resist and that cooldown reduction. And then we have a needlessly large rod was the next item that we picked up, and that we will be building into a Deathcap as our next item, which will help us with 120 ability power and increase our ability power by 30%. So very good way to get tons of damage, and we're going to just really bank on doing lots of damage with our abilities in this game. And yeah, that's what we're working on, and we'll go ahead and push some lanes. Now next, as for Lux's runes, you can do a few different versions. What I like to do though is we do the magic penetration marks. I do the mana regen per level seals because they're nice early on, and just you never run out of mana that way, which is always a good thing. And then you do your ability power per level glyphs, and then I do AP quintessences as well. If you start with this setup and the full masteries page, which we'll get to in a second, you'll be at, I believe, 25 ability power at level 1 without any items. If you do then go ahead and get that Doran's ring in some pots, you'll be at 40 ability power, and that's pretty good early on in the game. So that's just something to remember if that's what you're looking for. And I like this setup a lot. I use it with almost all of my AP mid casters that use mana, so it seems to work out very well for me. It's kind of a standard setup that works well for a lot of champions, so I'd recommend it if you don't want to spend a million IP on runes. It's a good setup. So here I'm trying to get this LeBlanc, but she's just screwing with us by jumping around and going back to her abilities. So really funny stuff, but unfortunately for her, we are going to kill her now because she deserves to die, because she's the enemy and you're supposed to kill them. So I'm going to go ahead and get Jace to pick up that kill there, and we're going to go ahead and try to take care of some damage on this Cho'Gath, but he is just really tanky right now because he's actually really farmed up, and I mean, look at him just tanking. This is disgusting. Ezreal should be helping more than that, but you know, I can't make them play better. Maybe they should watch some videos. But we're going to go ahead and pick up an assist on him. Gnosis is going to come out this way. He tries to TP, but I don't know why. That was really, really random. And that's fine. I accept that they are playing poorly at this point. But they did fairly okay early with farming. They just don't seem to pick up any kills because they're not grouping up. They would destroy us. They're too tanky. But, you know, that is the runes, though, that I was talking about taking. Some other ones you could consider if you're not building all the cooldown reduction items is cooldown reduction glyphs are good runes, in case that's something that you're looking for. So just another thing to maybe remember. As for those masteries, though, that I was going to talk about, masteries, fairly simple. It's going to be a 2190 or a 2109, just depending on how you like to set up your defense and your utility. You need the 21 though in the offense. Pick up everything that's going to help you out with your ability power, and as it scales over the game with penetration and cooldown reduction on your abilities. So just a little bit to remember from there, just a little bit to pick up that will help you out. Now we were just back at base to continue the build. We did finish out that Deathcap, really good item on us. We have over 500 AP at this moment, which is good. And Cho'Gath is dancing because why wouldn't he? And then we also did pick up a blasting wand, and that is definitely going to help us out. We're going to go ahead and build that towards a couple different items you could really take this towards. 2 of them I will recommend if they're starting to stack a lot of ability power, things such as magic resist, you'd call it. If they're stacking a handful of magic resist, I would definitely say pick up a void staff. And we're going to go ahead and get into a little bit of a battle here between this Ezreal and this LeBlanc. They're both at about half-life, and they could probably finish me off. They're trying to, but I'm going to deal damage back and forth. Try to use my standard attacks as well on them. I am going to go ahead and chase basically Ezreal away from this fight. I am going to kill this LeBlanc. She's ignited. Hitting her with some standard attacks as well. And she's not ignited. I lied. Well, she's dead anyways. Red buff killed her. That's what happened. Which is basically a mini ignite if you don't know. And then Ezreal decides to go back too close to me, and he's going to get lasered in the face. So there's just a handful of damage you need to remember that you can do with Lux. When you are in 1v1s against some other caster types, your standard attack really can help you win those fights, which leads to another item that I want to talk about. As I mentioned, you can get the Void Staff, which will really help with that magic penetration and damage. If you want to pick up a Lichbane, it will actually help. It's not the most amazing item on her, but it isn't a bad item at all. And it really can turn those 1v1 fights around. And like I said, your standard attack hurts. So Lichbane's just another item you might want to consider. So I'd say one of those 2 items. And then finally, for your last item, you can either do a Liandry's Torment, which is a pretty good item, or another item that's really good and you're going to get a little bit more cooldown reduction from is a Morellonomicon. So what you want from that basically is it gives you that cooldown reduction. It's going to give you even more mana regen, which is awesome. You can build the Cage's Lucky Pick from it early and get some gold over time as well. So it's a really good item, and it's got a great passive on it, which inflicts Grievous Wound for 4 seconds on your enemies if they're below 40% health. So that's pretty much the build for Lux. If you have any questions, you can put those down in the comments below. Everything's in the description if that's where you're looking for it. But other than that, I'll just see all of you guys in the next build video. I'm going to try to help support here and try to save TF, as they are going to go for him primarily. I'm a little low on mana, but this is why we have a Chalice, because without a Chalice, we would just be completely out of mana. Going to go ahead and get both of them in the next queue, which will knock them up and save TF from getting further dove. And now Evelyn is going to move in as she is unstoppable